Hey, so I thought I'd go ahead and post a response to Glass Orchid Aftermath's sub contest question asking us to show an album that for us defines the 60s, which is a very, very difficult question. And so I thought, what would be the realist way to answer it? And I'll tell you the first one I was thinking of you doing, which I decided not to, is I was thinking of using Woodstock. And that being that Woodstock was a culmination and an ending at the same time. And so I think it was very, very, very symbolic for me of a lot of things about the 60s. But when I kept thinking about it, I said, okay, let me go deeper and try to capture what was really happening for me, in the 60s as a kid. And the record that would sum that up, honestly, for me, would be this compilation of a radio station from my childhood here in Omaha, Nebraska, KOIL, K-O-I-L. 22 Golden Classics. I mean, this just takes me back to the halcyon days of youth when I was between, for me, even though there was always some kind of shit, but I have some wonderful memories from when I was 9 years old and between 10 and 12, and I remember the radio in particular being especially good in 1966, and quite a few of these songs, are, if not all these, are from that year. And so for me, when I'm really going personal, and I thought I'd answer this personal rather than try to be global. When I said Woodstock, I was trying to be global for America, I guess, me as a U.S. citizen, I guess. So I thought, let me just be more personal. And for example, some of the songs on here: Dizzy, Tommy Rowe, Hair, The Cowsills, Color and Father, The Winstons, House of the Rising Sun, Cherry Cherry, Neil Diamond. I mean, I love these songs. One of my favorite songs of that year: Little Girl by the Syndicate of Sound, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag by James Brown, Yummy Yummy Yummy, The Ohio Express, Venus, Shocking Blue. That's what's on this album. I mean, this is really telling the truth of the 60s for me. What music really was, I was really listening to on the radio, and what was really making life, one of the things that made life worth living. It wasn't the only thing, but these songs and radio and music was one of the big ones. I want to shout out to my sister Stephanie, because I think you might watch, and you were. I mean, I love the whole family, but you and I have always been tight, and you were a saving grace at the time, the 60s. Our love of the Beatles, but also Crimson and Clover, Smile a Little Smile for Me, This Flying Machine, Incense and Peppermint, Strawberry Alarm Clock, Brown Eyed Girl, Van Morrison, Kind of a Drag, The Buckinghams, Hold Me Tight, Johnny Nash, Green Tambourine, Yes I'm Ready, Barbara Mason. Green Tambourine was, of course, the Lemon Pipers. Let me just finish out: The In Crowd by Ramsey Lewis, Hush by Deep Purple, and the last one is You've Lost That Love and Feeling. And so when I look through that list of songs, and I think about the 60s, even though that's just one small window, for me personally, it's a real good example of the reality of my 60s. Although, as I became aware through music and the media of, it was all over. The summer of love, it was over by the time I found out about it. But the music, and what it brought and how that affected me as a young kid, particularly, I have to bring up the fact being black, African American, and the music being, I was crucified for listening to this music. Somehow I was a traitor for liking white music as a kid, and yet it was beyond that. This was my music. This was the stuff that was making sense to me, and just really, it just hitting me. That's what I can say about the 60s. We could, one album just can't do it. Woodstock was close because it's got all those great people, including Santana and Hendrix and Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Grateful Dead, and the list goes on. Richie Havens, I mean, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I was thinking of that. But that's my answer.